My name is Devin Flores. I live in District 1. So I wanted to speak to you all today because this ordinance is really astounding. As everybody in the room should know by now, it carves out areas of town where it's illegal to sit, kneel, or lie down on public easement, with very few exceptions, mostly around our city's main business areas. I say mostly to draw attention to my favorite one on this, which is Bessemer Business Area. This area includes a couple blocks around the Safeway on Prairie and then stretches eastward between Mesa and Northern for over 2 miles, cutting a 1-block wide corridor from the fairgrounds all the way to Santa Fe Avenue. So most of that area is residential. So some people living there might be surprised to learn that they're apparently in a business district, but nonetheless, there are a couple of very well-meaning carve-outs in this ordinance for medical emergencies, those with disabilities, children in strollers. But I'm very glad to see it does not exempt children outside of strollers. So if, for example, you live on the 1200 block of Carteret or Van Buren, between those two streets I mentioned earlier, it is, I'm very happy to say that I better not see any 8-year-olds kneeling on that sidewalk coloring with chalk. I hate to see that, and they have had it too good for too long. If necessary, I am prepared to volunteer to patrol this neighborhood and call the police if I see any such crimes. And if anybody in Bessemer has an issue with that, I will encourage them to reach out to City Council so that y'all can explain to them the importance of upholding this law and the reason why it was enacted. Of course, these restrictions apply only to that 1-block wide corridor, so if you live a few hundred feet north of that, you have nothing to worry about. The inclusion of unstroller children is also very much appreciated. Toddlers have also had it for too good for far too long. I hate it when a barely verbal child sits down on the sidewalk, and I'm really excited to know that our police are going to be cracking down on that problem. Not to mention Girl Scout cookie stalls. I've always hated to see Girl Scouts selling delicious cookies to support their nonprofit, and I'm glad there will finally be a way to crack down on these menaces to society. So long as they're using chairs on a sidewalk, no thin mints will be broken on our watch. I also want to compliment the inclusion of the whole Riverwalk in the downtown business area. It's a personal tradition of mine to go down to the Riverwalk on the 4th of July and glare angrily at all the people watching fireworks on lawn chairs and beach towels. I hate to see them happy, so it really warms my heart to know that soon at least some of them, those who dare to inch their way onto a public easement for a better view, will finally face the full force of the law. Some of you might think I'm overeager for this ordinance and wonder how it might also impact me. However, I noticed a clever little loophole that City Council included just for people who might want to have a quick rest without violating this otherwise flawless ordinance. You included this great language excluding people using, quote, mobility assisting devices, like walkers and wheelchairs, but it doesn't say anything about whether or not you need those devices. So I'm happy to know that my famous sidewalk naps will still be fully sanctioned so long as I bring my own crutches. And I'm sure that any other law-abiding citizen will be happy to know that they can feel free to sit wherever they want, whenever they want, so long as it's in a wheelchair. Finally, I want to compliment City Council on the forward thinking in this ordinance. Others might just see this as a short-sighted and arbitrary ordinance meant to appease a handful of business owners and punish the impoverished. But I'm smart enough to see the long-term plan at work here. This ordinance will cleverly push the unhoused out of downtown areas into the adjacent neighborhoods, which are not protected under this ordinance. That way they can go to lay down and sit with abandon in places like the alleyways behind a bunch of people's houses, where they're out of the view, except of course the people who live there. I also have to really commend your self-sacrifice here, Councilmember Latino, because the only protected area listed in this ordinance in your district is a couple of blocks on 4th Street. So I really anticipate that a lot of the city's unhoused population is probably going to be moving to the east side, where it will still be legal for them to sit and lie down on the sidewalk, especially in front of people's houses. So really the only note I have about this, other than my full-chested support, is that there's a typo on page 4 in paragraph 6. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance?